Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. We're buzzing as always. And today we have a guest whose company is absolutely tearing it up right now. We love to see it. Today we have Varun Kumar, the co-founder and CEO of Hashflow, a decentralized exchange designed for users to trade seamlessly across chains. Pumped to have this guy on. Very pleased to welcome Varun Kumar to the Crypto News Podcast. Varun, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Matt. Excited to talk about about life generally.
I'm pumped to have you on too, man. I'm pumped to have you on. I think a good place to start would be the news of the last week, and that was the chatbot from GPT-3 and the team at OpenAI. It literally took Twitter by storm, not just Twitter. I even saw a good old LinkedIn post, many LinkedIn posts about it. And honestly, they weren't too cringe either. They were actually sort of comical and less of the, I woke up this morning and my dog took a dump and I looked at his dump and created my new company. It was less of that, cringe bullshit. It was actually quite nice. But what's your whole take on GPT-3 AI, this new chatbot? People are saying it's going to take over the world. What's your 2 cents on it?
Also, I think I'm a big fan, right? So it's already got over 1 million daily active users since it got released last week. So I think generally, I think I'm a big fan of both the GPT-3 chat, the chatbot as well as the regenerative art that we've been seeing show up at people experimenting with giving AI the cues, and the AI basically generates art or text or anything. Personally, I was like, okay, this could actually, maybe, who knows, in the future, all these tweets you're seeing will no longer be written by people. It will be written by AI. That was already a joke we were making with friends. We actually had an active role for a social media person. And we're like, oh, wait, do we need to hire a social media person now? Can we just tell the GPT-3 to generate the tweets in the style I want? And I think that could be really interesting. So generally, I think I'm actually quite excited. And I think this could really disrupt or make the work really easy for companies that are looking to generate, write good blog posts and just creating content. I think it's a good news for people who are looking to create content. But I think the interesting thing is would that actually also result in many people who actually have those jobs? Would they be taken away from them? Or how would you, so you'll have to compete with an AI to create more, banger memes, or banger tweets, I guess.
Definitely a bad day to be a copywriter. I've been playing around with it nonstop, and even the ability to just be write me a 500-word article on Ethereum or Bitcoin or Hashflow or whatever, and it bangs it out. It's so clean, and it also gives you a stencil. It's pretty crazy. And the going rate's 10 cents a word for most legit publications. 1,000-word article, it's $100. It's crazy.
It's really good. I asked it to write a poetry, and it was within I blinked my eye and I was like, wait, this is actually quite good. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is going to be really exciting. So I've gone down the rabbit hole. I've been playing with that for the last 48 hours. And I'm like, this is just blowing my mind. So I'm a big fan.
The thing that again, I wish I had the bandwidth and the skill set to take advantage of this, but you're a coder, you're a developer. And I've seen people put in is this, what did they write? They'd be like, hey, is this legit or is this clean? Or what errors are in this subset of code? And then they copy and paste it. And the chatbot would literally give the right code. That's absolutely bonkers. That's insane. That's probably going to change a lot of coding jobs as well.
Absolutely. I think Balaji had a pretty interesting, I forgot the tweet, but he talked about this on how the future of code, AI, you can just tell the AI to even write software and give it the prompt on what you want, and it will generate that for you. In fact, I saw that this another post the other day where there was a trading strategy in Python, and then it just gave AI the prompt to write a trading strategy to do X, and then it just wrote the Python script to do exactly that, and that was fascinating. So cool. I think, and this is just the beginning, right? So which is exactly why I'm okay, this is going to be really, really exciting to see where this goes in the next 2 years.
Yeah, heck, I can add software engineer to my LinkedIn bio now. Just ask OpenAI. It's pretty crazy. One thing that I don't like about it is the censorship. Now, this is obviously a very sticky subject to discuss, but what's the right play here? Like, do we want to have AI censorship? Do we want to make it a wild, wild west? Like, and I'm not talking censorship in regards to sort of what it's building, but just the topics that it can discuss or the topics in which it can bang out a bunch of text for. If you played around with that at all, like no political figures, no religion, there's a whole lot of stuff that you really can't ask it, or you need to find a better way. You need to find better inputs and variables and queries to give it to the OpenAI, the GPT-3, for it to then give you the answer that you want. What's your 2 cents on that?
So I generally fit in the boat, like censorship is an insult to intelligence, right? So generally I'm like, let's not censor anything and let the creativity flow. And because the moment you say we can censor X, it's just over time, that demand is only going to keep going up. And at some point you'll just be like, okay, let's censor everything. That's basically how it's like giving power to the state, right? Where you start with something small and over time it just grows. And then you basically have slavery, where you're serving the state, right? So that being said, there's also things like having child pornography is likely not a good idea. So I think, exactly. So where do you draw that line? So I think that's what it comes down to.
And who draws the line? Who gets to draw that line, right?
Yeah. I mean, some things are like logical, right? Like child pornography is bad. Like, you don't need an objective debate to see whether it's a good thing or no, because it's bad, right? So you don't need a person to define that. I feel like that is something that could just come by default. But at the same time, like the things like writing some controversial piece about what you may think is a conspiracy, but may not be a conspiracy, that doesn't need to be censored, right? So you can basically take liberties 100%. In terms of expressing opinions about subjects that other people may disagree with. So there are certain things where everyone can objectively agree that this is bad, right? And you don't need to explain that to somebody. And like I said, child pornography is a prime example of something that no one is going to debate and say, no, that's a good thing. So things like that, you can by default just not have them. But besides that, I don't think there's anything that is opinion based, I don't think should be censored.
Well said. Let's jump into crypto here, and the current state of the market. By the time this episode airs, it will be very early-ish to mid-December, around December 8th, December 10th kind of thing. We just had the FTX fiasco about close to a month ago. We've had just a horrendous year through and through. Mind you, a lot of incredible companies have been built, but for the most part, it's been a bit of a rough year and definitely an uphill battle for everyone in the space. Now, one of the good things that has happened is consumers have finally understood the importance of decentralized exchanges, your coins, moving things offline, and just how centralized exchanges really are just no bueno as a whole. Really, the only purpose you should ever use them for is just really to onboard, fiat to crypto, and otherwise get it off, do your own thing. And this is obviously done extremely well for Hashflow, as you guys are one of the leading DEXs, decentralized exchanges in this space. But before we get into Hashflow, what's your take on the current crypto market? Do we have a positive year ahead? Do we have another year of a bloodbath? What do you think is going to happen over the next 12 months?
So it's hard for me to say what's going to happen, obviously. And anything I'm saying is basically just an opinion, right? I don't want anyone to take that as a signal. So
not financial advice, just an opinion.
Not financial advice, exactly. But I think on one hand, short term, it's really, really bad. Like FTX going down, 3AC, Terra, it wasn't good for anyone, right? Lots of people lost money. But at the same time, I also think long-term is good for the space because many bad actors are gone at this point. And I think it also red-pilled many, many people in the sense that previously the things that they took for granted, like them openly seeing how pretty much censorship, your media and everyone, how they could basically, that the system is working against the people, and they could see it in daylight, where basically despite what everything happened with FTX, there may or may not be very many consequences for the people involved, like Sam or whatever, right? And which is kind of where people seeing this corruption, the state level corruption, in front of their eyes. I think it's actually a good thing in the sense that it is going to make many consumers a lot more alert and just see through the system for what it is, right? And I think that's a good thing. And also, I think is going to, like you said, many retail, or not, I don't know about retail actually, but many people have actually realized the importance of self-custody and learn it and making sure, that or going back to the philosophy of not your keys, not your crypto and so on. That being said, I still don't think the battle is completely won, because many people still don't understand crypto, and many others still would rather just put money in a centralized exchange. And
it's easy.
It's easy. It's convenient.
It's convenient. That's the word. That's the right word. It's a cakewalk. It's like, yeah, it's such a treat to use until you know that they could fuck you at any given time.
So which is where I think what could happen is you could use centralized venues as a way to do fiat on ramps and off ramps, and then once you've done that, go and use a DEX. But I don't think that's the cleanest way to do it, because if you're going to go on Coinbase or any centralized venue to trade and your UX is so good, then there is very little incentive for a user to leave that platform, right?
Right.
I think what really needs to happen, and this applies to Hashflow as well, is that we need to work to make the DEX experience much better than it currently is. Like, yes, we can just connect your wallet and do a swap. But if you think about any time there's like a bull run or massive retail rush into crypto, the gas fees are going to spike up. Like, we've seen where last time I remember paying like nearly $700 in gas. And that's not something your average retail would want to do. They want more consistency. They want more convenience, right? And I don't think $700 in fees is convenience. So I think what we need to do, is focus on the UX and basically build products that actually can compete with the centralized experience. Because I think right now the big value proposition for DEXs is you maintain your anonymity. So no KYC and you get to maintain your custody, and perhaps you get to trade some long tail assets that cannot be traded on centralized venues, especially during bull markets. But I'm not sure if that's enough, right? So I feel like the value proposition needs to be such that you can also compete on the rates. You can actually compete on just overall UX, which I think there's a lot of work to be done, but it's doable, right? So I think that's the challenge. And I think if we can nail that down, then I think it's going to be much easier to onboard new set of users directly into DEXs. And I think that's going to be the next set of challenge, and see how we tackle that would be interesting.
How do you make a better user experience? Like, obviously it's a hell of a lot harder or easier said than done, but you sort of talked about, user experience as a whole, the UI, the UX, the slippage, the gas fees, everything. It needs to look, play, and feel like a centralized exchange, but it's truly a decentralized exchange. What sort of key areas do you really need to focus on and really need to be almost perfect for that user experience to be similar to a centralized exchange?
Yeah, so I think one of the things is like certainty, right? If I'm seeing price in Coinbase and I want to say like swap 5 ETH, Coinbase gives me a rate, and I know that's what I'm going to get. Like what I see is what, I'm going to get what I see. There's not going to be any surprises. There's not going to be like, oh wait, something went wrong, right? So you almost always are guaranteed to receive what you've been promised. And I think that's one of the big things. That's a starting point, obviously. And I think which is kind of where we were like, when we say no slippage on Hashflow and so on, what we really mean is, if you've been promised that you're going to receive 10 ETH for your 1,000 USDC, then that's what you're going to receive. Like you wouldn't be front run, you wouldn't be sandwich attacked or anything else. Like, it doesn't matter what size you're trading, you're going to be guaranteed that execution, right? So that's like a big deal. Because for small trades may not make sense, but if you're trading large amounts and getting a good price and also making sure that trade actually goes through without any surprises or being front run by an MEV bot or something else, is actually probably, not something a more sophisticated trader would be a fan of. So I think having those kind of guarantees, it actually makes the UX around trading a lot better. But then also, I think gas fees, having like on Coinbase, there's no concept of gas fees because you're not really trading on chain, right? Like you're basically trading against a centralized database. But at the same time, not having to pay gas is a good thing. And most average users don't care about gas, right? If you go to a degen trading on Robinhood, they just want to do swaps or trades and they don't need to worry about these extra things. And the moment on DEXs, they have to think about these things, it just scares people away. So now using L2s will make gas a lot cheaper, but at the same time, I'm not sure if that's like the final destination, right? So because even if you go with L2 route, then you have to build a UX around how do you onboard people to L2s. Like maybe you have to use some kind of a bridge mechanism.
And that's worse user experience. There's no worse user experience than using bridges. They're all terrible.
So technically, I think you can replicate the centralized exchange experience because you go and deposit on your Coinbase and then you see a balance and then you trade. And you can apply a similar UX for L2 onboarding where people deposit their ETH on mainnet and then what they see on their UX, on their app is their L2 balance. And then all trades happen on L2. And only when they want to exit is when they receive, they can go back to withdrawal funds. And that's when you bridge back to L1. Except if you're using optimistic rollups, the exit times are like a week. So that's not good. Now ZK rollups are coming up soon. And I think that should speed up the exit times. But then we also built like a pretty neat cross-chain solution that allows people to exit instantly from L2s. For a nominal trading fee, which actually solves that problem to a large extent. But still, I think these are some UX challenges, right? Around like user onboarding. And then not to mention that most of the retail doesn't own crypto, right? Like at least the new ones, they have the Chase debit card and they're trying to link that to Coinbase to buy their first crypto. And I think as a result, if you're running a DEX, you can do fiat onboarding, but then you'll have to do KYC and other things. And if you don't want to do that, and if you're relying on a centralized venue to be your fiat on-ramp or off-ramp partner, then you're also losing your users to that exchange. So that's and that's the tricky part. So which is where I'm like, okay, how do maybe you can figure out fiat on-ramps on DEXs without sending your users to some other venue to get the fiat first or crypto first, or I don't think I have a clear answer in terms of how we're going to solve that, but that's a problem we've been thinking about deeply in terms of how do you build UX that is very similar to what people have been used to, like your Robinhoods and the Coinbases of the world, but at the same time, it also preserves the permissionless nature of decentralized trading that doesn't put people's funds at risk and allows for seamless trading of any asset across any chain. Right, so that's basically what we've been like focused on nailing down. I think hopefully we'll get there in the upcoming months.
The no KYC for decentralized exchanges is such a big value prop. I would say it's probably value prop numero uno. Like there's really nothing but you know what I mean. Like that's why people use them. Is that not true?
I would say so. I mean for many reasons, right? So like especially people who care about privacy, and if the whole idea of crypto, or one of the big propositions of crypto is, separation of money in the state, and you don't want your state to spy on you or to basically track your you in any capacity, or use money as a leverage to keep you a slave, basically. Right? So in that sense, if people who care about privacy, for them using a DEX, one of the big propositions of using DEX is not having to give that information to anyone, right? So in which case, adding KYC to a DEX kind of goes against why these people trade. That being said, I don't think KYC is inherently a bad thing because knowing who your counterparty is incentivizes many market makers or the counterparties to give you better rates because they know who they're trading against and they know the flow is not toxic, which means they can price the assets much better, much more favorable to the trade taker. It also obviously helps with removing any toxic flows incoming, right? So those are some of the good things. And then also I think if you're going to look into things like lending or uncollateralized lending or partial collateralized lending, then knowing who the counterparty is and being able to assess the default risk. I think KYC, or knowing who the counterparty is primarily, or some kind of on-chain identification, is actually not a bad thing, right? So it likely is a practical way to do it, but I just don't know in the current paradigm, if you add KYC to a DEX, I'm not sure if it makes it any better than Coinbase or anything else. In a world where everyone is KYC'd, including DEXs and centralized exchanges, what makes a DEX better? Is really the $1 million question, right? So one, I could argue that non-custody is a good thing, is a big deal, but I'm uncertain about how many users really care about custody. In fact, some users may want someone else to manage their money. In which case, what else could be done at the DEX level that makes it really compelling for people to use the DEX over a centralized venue is something we need to figure out. Right, so.
Well said. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to give a bunch of time to Hashflow again, which is absolutely making waves and tearing it up. But first, we got to give a huge shout out to Prime XBT, who I've been using for an absolute hot minute. We love them. They are a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet. You can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. Use the promo code CryptoNews50, that's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that is CryptoNews50 to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And now back to the show with Varun. Varun, let's get into Hashflow. Why wouldn't we? Give me the elevator pitch. What are you guys up to right now? You guys are absolutely tearing it up. And then we'll get into some of the AVAX specific stuff, some of the AVAX and ETH specific stuff. Crazy numbers, crazy AVAX volume on Hashflow. But before that, give me the 30-second elevator pitch on Hashflow.
Well, the simple pitch is we are a decentralized exchange that allows users to trade any asset across any chain by simply connecting your wallet. Right. So I think that's the general pitch. And yeah.
So like a cleaner Uniswap with less fees and slippage.
I wouldn't even say that. Like I think Uniswap is like a pretty good product, right? So I would think of Hashflow as a improvement on the Uniswap design, in the sense that you as a trader, you have more guarantees around your trade. Like you don't experience slippage, in the sense that you basically receive what you see, right? You don't run into any risks of being front run or being sandwich attacked by anybody. You can do interesting things like native cross-chain swaps, where we can trade between any chain natively without using a bridge. And more importantly, you can price any asset class that is not limited to stable coins or spot. Right? So these are basically where I think it's a improvement on the AMM design more broadly. Where instead of using on-chain pricing, we've been using off-chain pricing by connecting to market makers, and as a result of that design, you get all these ancillary benefits.
So you guys are really just a big old wholesaler.
Yeah, I think we don't sell it. We just aggregate sellers. We just bring sellers and buyers together.
You're an aggregate wholesaler who gives darn good prices.
Yes.
With very little slippage and very clean UX.
Correct.
The website, it is absolutely stunning. For the listeners, guys, go check out this website. It's one of the cleanest websites I've ever seen in my life. Not even just crypto specific, like literally all websites as a whole. Who's your front end dev? Like, who came up with this? It's so friggin' clean. I don't even think there's like 500 words on the website, and it literally explains everything. Like, walking through the story, did you have any impact on this? How much time and effort do you guys put into the website, and how did you get it to come out as such a friggin' clean product?
So I think a general philosophy I have around the product is that everything is about telling a story. So storytelling basically makes or breaks anything, right? So and less is more, right? So like, how do you tell or communicate the message you want to convey in the least possible words? And I think that's something I usually think about a lot. Like, anytime I write something, I'm like, oh, can I trim down further? And how do I say the same exact thing in less words? Right? So I think, and I've been like, just forcing myself to write copies again and again. So that was a lot of iterations in terms of revising copies, but also for design. and front end. I think we have two of the best, people on the team. Like when our front end leads, like Brent, he was at Pinterest for like 4 years as one of the staff engineers / eng managers, and he pretty much did build the entire website on his own. So there was including the application and the main website. So pretty much everything you see on the site, including the app, like Brent pretty much wrote the entire 100% of the code all by himself. So it was actually pretty solid. And then for design, I think for the person we have, John, he used to be at Facebook or Meta for like 7 years in the Oculus team, and then we started jamming on this a year and a half ago, and then we look fine. Lester's just he got red pilled into joining the crypto wave, and so we were like, I was talking to John. I was like, hey, so do you want to try this crypto thing? He's like, oh, I don't understand crypto, but sure, I'll work as a contractor for like a month, see if this is actually my thing. And then a month and a half later, he's like, okay, I think this is it. I'm like, okay, so you're gonna leave Facebook then? He's like, yes. I'm like, okay, great. So I think half our team pretty much we poached all the smartest engineers and designers from Facebook and Airbnb.
Yeah,
and
mad smart. But like, going down the website, landing page, super clean, black writing, white background. The future of trading begins here. Trade any asset on any chain in seconds. No deposits, no BS. There's literally pretty much only one call to action, which is launch app, which is exactly what you want. You click it, boom, the app comes up. And then again, what's the biggest part of anything? Robert Cialdini's persuasion. You need social proof. You guys have the 10 billion plus in total volume with 6 massive coins / ecosystems on there. Just trade, no BS, no deposits, no commission, no surprises. I'm going to steal your website. I'm letting you know right now that I'm taking this stencil for some of my clients. This is absolutely brilliant. Just well done on there.
Like I said, imitation is the best form of flattery. But I would also say one of the websites I'm a big fan of is Stripe. I think
beautiful.
It's not just me. I think most designers use Stripe as the gold standard. And I think Stripe did a phenomenal job in terms of the attention to detail they have on the website. Like literally every little, like to the pixel, right? Like every little interaction and movement is just so well thought out. I think I'm like, I used to like Stripe's old website more than the new one. Like when they had like the little spinning gear and then, it would turn into it was really beautifully done, right? So I think, that's it. Stripe is like one of the best things to happen in design space, right? So I would highly recommend checking that out if you haven't. Did you guys
design for mobile or desktop? Like, did you optimize one over the other?
So the application is primarily optimized for the desktop, and people can access it on mobile, and it works fairly well on mobile too. But we've been thinking about like just building a native mobile that just works and designed for mobile users. Because I think the way, if you're thinking about it, is if you want to onboard the next set of DeFi users, I think mobile is going to be playing a big role in doing that. But obviously there's a bunch of other infra-related things that we need to do first before we venture into mobile. But I think that's something we have been thinking about and will be on the roadmap.
Walk me through this crazy influx of Avalanche, aka AVAX volume that you guys have had over the last couple of months. Like, is there a reason for why so much AVAX has been traded on Hashflow?
So the short answer is we have better rates than everybody else. That's a big one.
That'll usually do the trick. The big three, right? Whenever anyone buys anything, first you have price, then you have service, then you have expertise. 100 times out of 100, you gave the best price, boom, you get more people in the door. Sorry, continue.
No, but that being said, I also think, and I think the reason I say we have better rates is because I think the best way to see is how is your market share compared to others on DEX aggregators. And I think 1inch is probably the biggest DEX aggregator at the moment. And we usually see a bunch of the trades come through us, right? So we have a pretty big market share in 1inch. And I think that kind of tells us that, there's this volume and our rates are pretty competitive compared to some of the other similar DEXs out there, right? But I also think for the last 2 months, there's been a massive influx in just AVAX or Avalanche, or growth in Avalanche ecosystem itself, which is like independent of Hashflow, right? Like I think Avalanche is, in general has, I think the last 2 months I've seen a lot of growth in that ecosystem. And I think, that could also be another, contributor to why the volumes on AVAX went up significantly the last 2 months. So the combination of growth on AVAX itself combined with us just offering more competitive rates for people to come and trade.
Why is AVAX picked up steam over the last 2 months? Have they done anything special? On Twitter, I've seen a bunch of stuff about like devs are working hard, blah, blah, blah. But like, what the heck does that mean? Is there any reason for that?
I don't know exactly, to be honest. Why? But they have been shipping a bunch of things. Like they talked about the AVAX subnets, and then there is like new protocols coming up on AVAX that are being deployed. And then I think they're also getting into this AAA game that I think someone Luigi from AVAX was talking about that is going to be built on AVAX and it's going to be leveraging NFT markets. So I think they're also getting into gaming. So there's a bunch of things happening there, but I don't know the specifics of what caused the surge necessarily. But that being said, there is a bunch of innovation in AVAX, and they're a strong team. So I think and their product is pretty good. Like I've never had any trouble with the chain. So I think all in all, I think they've been doing pretty well. I would say though that there's a long way to go in that sense because Ethereum is still the king. And I think especially when you talk about DeFi, I think Ethereum and DeFi, like they basically go hand in hand, right? So I think Ethereum still has the biggest market share for DeFi. And Solana has had the narrative, like NFTs and gaming are going to be on Solana. So I think, and they're still going at it. So I think that's interesting. I haven't found what's the AVAX narrative yet. I don't know what the AVAX narrative is going to be in the next year or two. That being said, they have a pretty good tech, and I think they have the right people to build. So I'd be very curious to see where AVAX lands in the sea of narratives.
It's a good point about the narratives too. Just sort of fortifying your point about everything is storytelling. It every ETH has its story, Bitcoin has its story, and Solana has its story. Matic has its story, but you're right about AVAX. I don't really know what their narrative is, what the Gen Pop thinks of them, and what's their ethos. But let's go back to ETH for a sec. You have some really interesting points about the Ethereum network upgrades and their implications for the future of sort of the numero uno altcoin, which you've discussed many times, and the meaning of the Shanghai hard fork. What does this have in store for the future of Ethereum? And how successful was the merge? Was it as successful as the media talked about? Tell me more about this.
Yeah, for sure. I think merge was one of the most successful, if not one of the biggest events in the Ethereum ecosystem, right? So I would definitely say it was like very successful. Like don't let the price be the detrimental factor. Because many people look at the price and they go, "Oh, merge happened, but the price didn't change." But I'm like, I don't think price. Yeah, I mean, price is important, obviously, but at the same time, I don't think that defines the tech and the research that the Ethereum Foundation is putting into building these things, right? So and they're still, so that part hasn't changed. It never changed. It was always there, and I think, and they're continuing to innovate. So I would say merge was one of the most successful things that Ethereum has done, right? With Shanghai hard fork, I think one of the key interesting things that's going to come out of that is until now, people have been staking their ETH for the POS chain. But then I think the idea is like after the Shanghai hard fork, people will be able to withdraw their staked assets from the Beacon chain. So that's going to be one of the exciting things or developments to come out of that. And then there's also talks about the V1 of proto-dank sharding being implemented. And then also there's been talks about the gas becoming much more cheaper by implementing the blobs or roll-up technology. So I think at the moment, it's unclear what are the EIP proposals that will go through the Shanghai hard fork or the Shanghai upgrade. But I think the key one that most people have been talking about is the ability to withdraw their assets or staked assets on the Beacon chain. I think that's definitely going to be part of it. What others are going to be in that upgrade is TBD. I think Team Byco had a pretty interesting tweet in terms of what would go through. So I would recommend, I can send you a link to that later, but I think, they had a pretty good detail in terms of what you could expect from the Shanghai upgrade. But I think that's all I know at the moment. But there's like 7 or 8 EIPs that will be part of this upgrade. So it will be a big one.
Love that. Varun, thanks, man. Great episode. I know we're already past time. We have to wrap up. What a treat. Really appreciate you coming on, man. And would love to meet you in person one day. Until next time, can you please let our listeners know where they can find you and Hashflow online and on socials?
Sure. I think for Hashflow on Twitter, it's just at Hashflow. That's the handle. So super clean out there. Like there's just no underscores or anything. And then hashflow.com is the website that should have all the social links available. And my personal handle is Gandalf the Brown on Twitter. Which I think
so funny. What's the story behind that? What's the story behind that?
So I used to be into gaming, and I was a big fan of Counter-Strike Condition Zero back in the day in early 2010s and whatnot. And that used to be my handle in there. So the joke was basically at that time my handle was Gandalf the White, and then someone was like, "Oh, but you're not white." I'm like, "That is right. I should be Gandalf the Brown," right? And then that's kind of how I changed my handle to Gandalf the Brown. Then I think that stayed there, and then that became a joke, and then became my online handle for literally every other platform. And now, like, basically, my GitHub is Gandalf the Brown. Twitter is that.
It's your alter ego.
So it's my alter ego now. So yeah, I think that's kind of how I, that happened. That was a little backstory behind Gandalf the Brown.
Love that, man. What a treat. Thanks again for coming on, and can't wait for the next one. Thanks, Varun.
Of course. Thank you, Matt.
Folks, what an incredible episode with Varun Kumar, co-founder and CEO of Hashflow, dropping knowledge bombs left, right, and center. If you guys are doing trades, obviously go check them out. Decentralized, no KYC, and the cleanest in the space. If you enjoyed this one, and I hope you did, please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. And speaking to the team, love you guys and the listeners. You're the GOAT. Keep on growing those bags. Keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Bye for now, and we'll talk soon.